Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GothamChess Slow Run. This is episode number 29. In this series, I started at 400 on chess.com, and I've climbed the rating ladder, playing rapid chess, explaining my thought process, and every step that you need to take in order to become a stronger chess player. We are now deep in intermediate territory. That will be the name of today's episode. And I have talked about it a lot, and I will talk about it a lot in the 13 to 1600 range. This is the range of my next chess book, which unfortunately is not out until October, because the publishing world takes a lot of time. First of all, you got to write a book, edit a book multiple times. But I am going to put this on the screen just for you to keep in mind. Mark your calendar, mark the dates, October. Some of you have pre-ordered it already. Thank you. It will come signed in the UK. We're working on that. And in that book, again, we talk about pawn play, piece play, tactical play, positional play. Talk about attacking, defending, converting winning positions, practical endgames, and all that great stuff, okay? Now, episode 28 was a tense episode with some very, very good games, and we hope to continue that momentum here. I actually have kept the same name tags because I ran out of them. So my opponent goes e4. I've played a lot of Scandinavians. I will show you how to play an intermediate Caro-Kann defense with c6 and d5. So far, a pure Caro-Kann on the board. And my opponent plays one of the most challenging variations, which is e5, the advanced variation. Now, there are two lines here, bishop f5 and c5, immediately undermining. Bishop f5 is not bad at all. C5 is the move that I prefer. The most critical way for white to play here is to actually take this pawn, and people at this level don't know the intricate details of all of that. This is just bad, though. White needs to stabilize the center with a pawn. Stabilizing the center with a bishop is just not gonna, it's just not gonna work. Wow, now they throw in this fancy move. Okay, you might be tempted to play bishop d7. That's a completely reasonable move. There's also nothing at all wrong with playing knight c6 here. If you do opt to trade your bishop like this, I would recommend not putting your knight here almost ever in the Caro-Kann. You should be putting the knight on c6. And now we will play this position, and I will show you how to maneuver in this structure. This bishop should not be the glue holding the white position together in the middle of the board. And from here, we're not going to rush. I know you might think, wait a minute, the bishop pair. Yeah, but first of all, one of your bishops is already gone. Second of all, you're not done developing, so let's get our dark squared bishop out. This knight likes to go to the f5 square. That's the most annoying thing about the advanced variation, is that we struggle to get our knight out. You could actually go to h6 here and move it to f5. Nothing wrong with this move, though. And then you will put it here, not there. If that was possible, it would still be bad. And after you put the knight on f5, oh, I apologize. That was my Discord. I thought that I have the streamer mode enabled, which usually stops noises from coming in. Okay. Anyway, what was I saying? I don't quite remember, but I will remember. Anyway, this is almost always where the knight goes, right? It's going to f5. It could also go to g6. It's another possibility. And then we will develop with bishop e7, and we're going to castle. And yeah, white should really not be using the bishop as a way not to have their position completely fall apart, but still, it is equal for now. That is a bad move. So immediately I can tell you, in these types of positions, and chapter 2 of the next book is about pawn structures, b4 just can't be correct, because this is not where the battle should be fought for white. Now, you could be tempted to stop the move b5, but as you get stronger, you will realize certain things don't need to be stopped. We can just develop, and if b5 comes in, I'll just take this and I'll win the pawn, right? Okay, knight to d2. Now that the knight has went there, I was going to just castle, but the queen no longer guards the knight. That's not a knight, the bishop. I skipped the step. I meant to say, if we were to take, the queen no longer guards the knight if this trade were to happen, right? And so here I'm like, wait a minute. If I took this, wouldn't I be winning a pawn? Like, I could just castle, and that's probably the lazy move. But if I take on d4 with either of my pieces, do I not just win a pawn at the end with bishop takes? Fascinating stuff. Now, I will tell you, as an advanced player, here's what I see. Knight takes, knight takes, knight takes, pawn takes, right? Bishop takes b4. I target the knight. I looked for a check. There is no check. I'm threatening to take the knight if I need to get out of danger. I actually think this move just straight up wins me a pawn. And what made this move possible, on the previous move, I didn't take this bishop, because after takes and takes, the queen would have taken, and I wouldn't have been winning a pawn. But after this, I have spotted that this pawn is overloaded, and I'm going to be able to sneak and take the pawn over here. And a very important thing that makes this whole thing possible. If my queen was on d8, this would not be possible, because my king would be susceptible to a check from the enemy queen. And, of course, castling there was the right thing to do. But as you get better at chess, you do have to punish strange openings. In general, when your opponent plays in a way in the opening which uncoordinates them based on traditional wisdom, you will have these little tactical opportunities. Look, the move b4 just completely was not necessary. That pawn could have been on b2. It did not need to participate in the game. And early on, you know, the center should be held together by pawns. So there we go. We're trading, and now we take... And I'm always threatening to take this knight if necessary. And now is a really good point. Is it necessary to take the knight? I see this move, and that just looks like a fork. I mean, I gotta tell you, this just looks like a very clean fork for me. I'm a little nervous. I might be blundering something with my king in the middle. But after bishop takes d4, now there is queen g4, which can come as a shock here. It attacks two things at the same time. But actually, luckily for me, I can just take another pawn and I would have protected myself. And now, I mean, both moves are okay. I like this move because it's protected and I block the rook. And I'm a move away from just castling the king and being up two clean pawns in this position. And the only way I can still lose is checkmate on h7. So if my opponent plays queen d3 and knight g5, that is one of the only ways remaining that you could potentially blunder something here. I'm looking for a clean transition to a two-pawn up endgame. Then I'm going to put my rook on the open c file. I'm going to push my d-pawn forward. One very useful move. a4 is not threatening anything. I will show you one very useful move. It actually is pawn to h6, but let's castle. So allowing this attack would be bad, but it doesn't even look like that's what my opponent is trying to accomplish. So here we're going to put the rook on the open file. I think my opponent's going for a5, but they don't realize that, I mean... Yeah, ain't nothing there. And then the move h6 for me will always be nice because the knight can't come close and my king can always get off the back rank. Another move that is very normal in Caro-Kann positions is the move pawn to f6, just simply offering a pawn trade, activating the rook. Right now, I think there's nothing inherently wrong with that move, but I would be helping my opponent maybe get their knight a little closer. This is reasonable. Now, if I defend, I would hang my bishop, so that would be bad. I kind of want to centralize my rook. Or maybe I want to bring my queen and trade queens. That could also be another idea. But of course, a5 is going to... Well, hey, I have an idea. Why don't I just stop a5? Why don't I just make a5 impossible? All right, and what that does is helps me double up. I'm still looking for h6. And then, obviously, the more pieces we trade, the better we're going to be. Let's not forget, we are also targeting the f2 pawn in a lot of different positions. So, we should be in good shape. I'm not pushing my pawn just yet. It might become a liability. I will push it when some more pieces are traded. But again, it's never too late to get checkmated, right? We have to remember that. And we should be a bit careful. Knight to e1. That's a very cool move. Okay, and if I go here, knight to d3, I'm going to fork. Not really worried. Maybe their d4 would have been nice. Now, of course, if they move the f-pawn, they just get immediately bludgeoned. Rook c1 trades rooks. Can't be bad. Trading rooks cannot be bad here for me. All right, we're going to go rook c3. I don't think we win just yet, unfortunately. Now could be a good time to play this h6. You know, just make this improving move. No back rank problems. You know, white, it wasn't the best move, but it was a move. I think white will probably play a5. And then I can maybe bring my bishop around this way. Or put it in the middle. Only problem with putting it in the middle, it's not protected. So you have to be really, really sure that you're not going to blunder it. Otherwise, you know, rook on the second rank, pressure on white's position, slowly improving the position. We're not rushing with the pawns. We're using our rooks, using our queen. This is not a game that we need to use the pawns very much. Everything looks good. Yeah, I anticipated this move. I do say about 8 times out of 10 going backwards is likely not the right move. Here, though, this could be a reroute. This is what we call a reroute. Right, we're repositioning the bishop somewhere. That pawn is not bad, but if they push it any further, I'll chop it and go queen b5. Okay, knight there. I can maybe bring my second rook. I don't see anything wrong with that move, just attack the knight. Now, if my opponent plays queen g4, they would be pinning themselves. And actually, I would win, I think, after something like bishop g5 or g5. Position's bad for white. We have very powerful pieces. We have 2 extra pawns. Just about, making it as clinical as possible. One thing I could do is I can trade the pawn here, like b6. I can also freeze the pawn on that square with a6, so it's always in the line of sight of my bishop. b6 and then taking with the bishop will be nice. Okay, they drop back. Actually, I almost blundered here. Almost. It's almost a blunder after knight d4. Like, my rook is almost stuck. Knight e2 was a nice move. I actually, for some reason, I anticipated my opponent would move forward. And that's not what happened. So now knight d4 would continue to chase my rook, which honestly is a very reasonable strategy if you have nothing else in a position. Just go for a draw, right? 2 pawns up. You have to understand as an intermediate, saving half a point is better than just, losing the game. This game's going a little longer than I would like. 2 pawns up in the opening. I would have liked to transition it to a pretty winning endgame pretty quickly. Okay, we've talked about this move. I'm going to chop this pawn, and that's going to help me bring my bishop back into the game. And from here, I think life is pretty good. I have this nice defense. I have a target on this square. I'm never getting back rank mated. Queen b5 is nice. It could be a nice time now to push this pawn, because I do a very good job protecting, and if that pawn gets down to d2, white's going to have no defense against the advancement. You always should be on the lookout for how quickly somebody can counterattack you, but it's not possible here. I mean, the queen can't go to g4. The knight can't really go to g3. It's an unpleasant position. And we're good. We're here. Everything is good. Just waiting. A little bit of a slow pace here. My opponent is certainly taking their time, which is fine, but Anyway. Well. Can't really... King h1! Okay, king to h1. Right away, I'm looking at queen b5, and I'm also looking at advancing my pawn. If queen b5, I attack the rook moves. Maybe I follow the queen down. Hit the knight. That looks good. That looks real nice. Get the queen in here. Attack the knight. Also attack that pawn. White will lose a 3rd pawn. Just domination here. 2 pawns up. Excellent coordination of the pieces. Bishop and pawn here doing a nice job. I predicted this. And if rook b1, which is a nice move, it counters my attack on the knight, I will take this pawn, which you had to see from a distance. Otherwise, you would just keep making moves here. But now I win another pawn, and I threaten the knight. And this is just great. I mean, the bishop is just perched perfectly defensively, and my opponent just resigns. They just resign. 3 pawns was a little bit too much to deal with. I wouldn't have resigned there. I mean, I would have kept going. Like I said, it's really easy to lose a position that goes well from the opening. Like here, a3 was a mistake. a3, you attacked my bishop, and you totally missed the move bishop c3. But like, if my opponent here went queen d3 and anticipated that I would castle, this is a terrible move. Because very quickly, white can go here, and you go g6, and then white goes here, and you got to go h5, and like suddenly you're pushing all the pawns in front of your king. I don't know. You could lose. White goes g4. Of course, the position is losing, but you have to know that it's losing. I mean, you could easily screw this up and panic somehow. So, yeah, not an easy position. You gotta really be sharp here. Now, as far as the opening goes, my opponent made an inaccuracy already on the 4th move. I mean, they let me do this, and then they checked me, and I traded the bishop with them. Knight d7, queen d7 doesn't really matter. I put all my pieces on the proper squares, and b4 was just a peculiar move because I think even already already I could have taken on d4. I only calculated with this knight, but I actually could have taken like this. It's hilarious. You know, I was autopiloting myself. I could have taken like that, and if knight takes, I could have went for this pawn, which is good, but it's a little dangerous with your king in the middle. I don't want to, you know, but yeah, actually, I had it there as well, and probably by now, you know, 5 minutes ago, people in the comments already pointed it out, but now I can definitely do it, and that's what I did. And now, you know, we went 2 pawns up, put the rook on c8, stopped a5, doubled the rook, went here, stopped any back rank mate, moved our bishop back, played a rook move that wasn't perfect, but still good. If knight d4, I would have went rook b2, and that's what I would have played. And I think that was pretty instructive. I think that was instructive. That was a very nice Caro-Kann. Let's go for another one. Maybe we'll get 2 Caro-Kanns. I love the Caro-Kann. I mean, I think it's super effective to climb. Okay, against bishop c4, my opponent could be playing the Hillbilly. No. The Hillbilly attack is after d5, bishop b3. I will show it to you after. This is just bad, though. I mean, this is just white spending 2 moves with a bishop to make it passive. And honestly, at this point, you could take the whole center. There is no reason. My opponent never even played d4. So if they let you take the whole center, you should. That's what you should do. And now if they play d4, I'm going to push. I'm going to take space away from my opponent. And show you how to play, you know, in a way where you... Oof. Okay. I mean, I think e4 is even strong now. I mean, I'm almost winning. Like, I can already play knight e5, knight d3 almost. This is the way I used to play as a kid. So as a kid, I really loved when my pawns defended each other. So I used to love doing stuff like this. I would just push all my pawns forward because the most efficient way to defend a pawn is, of course, with another pawn. You know, and I would play like knight f6 behind my f-pawn all the time. And this is very tough to deal with white. My opponent pins me, so the idea is this, and this. So they're obviously very good. I mean, bishop e7 here is good. I also like bishop e6, I think. It's not the worst, but bishop e6 takes. I can take with a pawn. I think that's fine. Maybe we block the more imminent pin with bishop e7. But I mean, in general, I think I'm going to play both moves. So bishop e7, bishop e6. I'm probably going to play interchangeably. Knight d2 is a touch tricky. A little trickier than I would like. Okay, well, now we have to take with the f-pawn, obviously. And knight d2, there's some ideas to take here. They don't quite work, but now I need to show you this knight e5, knight d3 idea. If my opponent leaves the king in the middle for... Okay, first of all, my first instinct here is just immediately take the knight and then deal with the consequences. It's a very, very odd position. Very tough to be principled in a situation like this where stuff is very wacky. Bishop takes h3, I think, is a mistake. Even though it looks so natural, I think it's a mistake because you allow this bishop to stand alone. And right now they're both kind of contesting certain things. I am wondering if I can play queen to d7 and just castle long, because I sense my opponent might want to castle this way. This is still an idea, but now if knight e5 to try to go knight d3 and attack the king, I think white's just going to castle. Although then I would... Bishop takes and knight e5 looks like a serious problem for white. It really does. I mean, I have to say, it does not look pleasant to defend that position. But I do wonder if I am getting ahead of myself. And I don't want to play totally unprincipled. And the principles say you should probably castle your king. So I have decided that I will be castling my king longside, stabilizing my center, getting my king out of the way. And if my opponent goes like this, then we're going to have a battle. Okay, they voluntarily do this, which is fascinating. I could take the knight first, but I don't... Why would I do that? There is a check here, but I can just block. I can also trade the queen if I'm scared. Now, they will go knight f4. Probably. And I'm protected here. I could keep my bishop, or I can castle. Or I can attack the knight, but then I would lose my pawn in the middle. So probably long castle is the way to go. It's a very interesting position. If my opponent goes here, I'm going to launch an attack immediately. If my opponent doesn't castle there, I'm going to probably continue to defend my center with the pawns. But I think I needed to get my king out of the way. I think that was instructive. Well, this person's quite good. Playing very interesting chess so far. There might have been a queen sacrifice there, by the way, to try to then, that's crazy. That actually might have been a thing. Okay, I'm pinned. I don't know if I should be scared or not. And I can play like bishop here or bishop here. Both bishop moves look good. This one's more in the middle. Let's do this. Now, here there is something that could happen. So my opponent can play take, take, and maybe this move. And I do wonder if they see that. Wow, they spotted it. And queen a6 check. Look at this. Queen a6 check is incoming. Good move by my opponent. This is a very tricky player. And I actually can't defend two of my pawns. So I baited them to see if they would spot this. And spot this, they have. I'm quite impressed. Queen a6 check. So now you got to decide how do you defend a king that's under attack? So chapter 6 of the next book is defending. Sometimes you can afford a move like king b8. Because if they take this pawn, there's going to be some counterattack. Like you move your bishop and it's check and you win the queen. There is none of that here. If you go king c7, that's terrible because they take and then you have to move again. I'm going to go king d7 because they're going to take my pawn on a7 with a check. And then I'm going to block like this. So I'm a pawn down, right? I've lost the pawn. But my opponent's king is still in the middle. And I would like to think that we are still very much battling here. I think the best way to play now is probably to develop quickly and get your king to safety. That's definitely not the best move. It's not a terrible move by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not a great move. I'm looking at queen g4. Like I'd like to start counterattacking. So I can play maybe queen g4 here. We need to get a counterattack. The king is in the middle. I need to attack the king. My king is looking pretty safe, and you can't attack me with only a queen. Now, if you castle here with white, you're probably just going to lose. I can't imagine. Wow. I cannot imagine you will survive this position. I mean, I have a queen and a rook pointed at your king, and the next thing I'm going to do is launch my pawns. And this is going to become a counterattacking game. I'm going to go h5, h4. I mean, you got to break the house down with the pawns, right? I don't see how white can attack me. White is at least 2-3 moves behind in development here. f3 doesn't look terrible, but it weakens g3 a lot. So f3, I can just take it. And even though my bishop is not threatening to move, it does have vision in this direction. So if I get h4 and I chop down that position, I am both threatening to infiltrate here and also there, there, there. So this infiltration was very smart by white, but castling was very bad. I mean, they did not understand that they need the pieces in the game. b3 was crazy. I will tell you, I think, why my opponent played b3. You're going to understand why they played it. But it was a very bad decision. It was a massive overthinking process. There's knight d2, and there's h4, and I'm knocking. I mean, this is... And now they play f3. So I can take, and then take, and I mean, I don't know how you're going to defend this position. I can also play queen h3. Everything is looking dangerous. Look at this. Queen h3 takes. I can sacrifice the rook or take with the pawn. I mean, yeah, queen h3 looks like a massive problem. Massive problem. And g4 is just checkmate. So even though my bishop can't move, it can protect. And this is a perfect example of how to attack and defend. We have 4 attacking pieces against the king, and there are no defenders. The rook, the knight, and the queen are not protecting the king. None of them are protecting the most important squares. If my opponent were to take here and the rook would activate, there would be some delay. Now I can take on g3. I can take both ways. Pawn takes. Yeah, it's just over. This attacks the queen. Yeah, this is game over. And our attack is through. We hit the queen. And then we take with the rook. And we completely ripped apart the white position. But that was really because white castled. You have to sense danger, guys. You can't just castle. You can't just castle on like the 20th move of the game and be like, oh, that was literally the 20th move. My opponent castled on the 20th move. Totally not thinking like, isn't my opponent going to conjure up some really powerful attack? Yeah, with the pieces and the pawns. That's how you attack somebody. Now I have a sense for attacking when I play chess. My opponent successfully launched an attack, but I still think even after winning my pawn here, their position was worse. And it was because of their development. And that's the way chess works. My opponent cleared off both bishops and both knights and won a pawn, but they got no other pieces out. So it made it very difficult for them to actually do anything in the position. Now they're just like 3 moves away from mate. This position is hopeless. Completely. I mean, they can survive 5 or 6 more moves, maybe, with perfect play. Like, queen e2, I take, and then I win the queen. Okay, that's gonna end up in a checkmate. Bishop takes, rook takes, also possible. Take with the queen, king goes here. Ladder mate, or ladder mate, or ladder mate, or this mate. And that's the game. That was a very fun game, an interesting game. How to deal with an obscure opening, and then how to navigate a complex position. That was a fascinating game. So again, I took the center. Here I played e4, and yeah, I was correct. Knight e5, knight d3 is already winning. It's very hard if you've never seen something like this to just jump in with a knight to the d3 square. Reason I didn't go for this immediately is because white can just stop it, and then, well, now you have to kind of play, and you don't have an obvious move. The computer wants queen g5, just immediately hammering away at the light squares, and then bishop g4, and etc., etc. I went here. D3 was good. Bishop g5 was very tricky. Again, knight e5. And already, look, my opponent played weird, and they're actually doing fine. They're actually doing very well. I mean, taking knight h3. Even here, I don't know why they didn't go knight to d2. And at least long castle. Like, folks, you have to try to castle and pose some problems. And if my opponent played knight d2, that would have been really bad for me. I opted here to castle my king short side. If I played bishop e7 and my opponent went here and here, then I would have castled long side. I decided I could have gone short side. There apparently is a tactic here. Knight takes d5, bishop d5, queen h5 check. That's hitting the king and the bishop. And that's, yeah, that is not spottable from this position. That's purely a result of luck, really. I mean, white just puts the pieces kind of by accident, and then there's tactics. I ended up castling the long way. I felt like if I castle this way, let me tell you why I castle long side by instinct. I felt like if I castle short side, my center is less stable, and I'm in the line of sight of this bishop. But I was like, if I castle long, the bishop doesn't hit my king on this diagonal anymore. And I thought this position was very reasonable for me. At this point, this was probably a bad move. If anything, I should put my bishop on h6, or I should just not let my opponent take the bishop. I should purely play on principles now and say, well, I should move the bishop back. On the previous move, I shouldn't move the bishop back, maybe. But even here, I think it's fine. This probably was the right thing to do. Like, avoid the trade. Don't give my opponent the bishop. And that's an advanced technique. Understanding, like, it's not just a fair trade and life goes on and you need to castle. You actually do have the time right now, because in some positions you won't have the time. You do have the time now to play bishop f7. But I also, in the slow run, want to allow people to do certain plans. And this plan to win my pawn was good. It was a good plan. Apparently, king b8 was totally reasonable. And after this, wow. I simply play rook to d7 and I'm minus 1.6. That is not understandable at this level. Basically, I'm always defending against the queen with that rook, and if my opponent castles, I can always win the queen with this. And the computer thinks the position's really good. I thought the way I played was reasonable. I thought defending my king with the bishop was pretty good, and as we see, the computer agrees, thinks that black's position is strong. This is why my opponent played this completely ridiculous move. So I think my opponent thought if they play rook a8 and like this, they're going to lose their pawn. I think that's what my opponent calculated. Except if they go here, they lose the entire queen. And also they can go that way. So they played b3 on a complete oversight, overthinking total chaos in the brain. Like, it did not make that much sense. And then castling, look, it's minus 1.4. And the second you castle, it's effectively over. Apparently, it was even stronger for me to move this rook, so I could save that rook for the H-file. But yeah, after this, okay, there was some maybe miracle ways to save the position, but yeah, like the computer now wants you to play knight c4 and just sacrifice the knight. That's kind of cool. And then try to play rook d1 check. And even if you get all this, you still lose because your rook is hanging. So, yeah. But I hope that was instructive in terms of the counterattack. Let's play one more game. I've got the black pieces again. We're going to get up to 1350 approximately. I played 3 games with black today. 3 Caro-Kanns. Caro-Kann Masterpiece, the best opening. We're going to get another e4. Yeah, let's go. So we had a bishop c4. And now what are we going to get? Okay, we have another exchange variation, but not bishop c4. This is already bad, by the way. The knight on c3 blocks the c-pawn. I think my opponent's going to play bishop b5. Most people play bishop b5 here. Okay, bishop f4 is reasonable. I'm going to pin, play e6, play bishop d6. Wait a minute. Is this not free? Okay. Is this not just free? Wow. Okay, well, now we have to punish this. This is poor. This is poor opening stuff right here. Doubling of the pawns. I get it. My opponent's trying to long castle. If you see that's coming, you know, of course we can develop and everything. Folks, we are going to punish this opening play. I mean, that rook is going to go to the c-file. What does that move even do? I mean, I would just kick this knight out. I mean, you can't even come closer. What? Okay, I'm very disturbed by this opening play. I think after, you know, like bishop b4, we are already in, I mean, maybe queen b6 is possible here. We attack b2 and d4. The only way to protect it is to long castle. And if you long castle, I mean, this just looks insanely dangerous for my opponent. Like, knight b4, bishop b4. This looks really. I might even leave my king in the middle. I might violate all principles here. Holy moly. So I already have a no, not quite. Not quite, unfortunately. I don't quite have a tactic. I was thinking I had maybe knight takes d4. This pawn's more annoying than it should be, because I can't quite move. I was looking at stuff like knight a5, queen a5. Of course, I could just castle. But if I moved my knight like back to a7 and try to go there, or e7, knight e7 to put pressure. Am I getting somewhere? Knight a5. Knight a5, there's a really brutal counterattack maybe, which is knight a4. But then maybe I can play queen c6. And then if queen b4, I have queen c2. Knight a5 is a very natural move. Knight a4 here, attacking the knight. They have c3. I can take the knight. cb4, knight c4, takes. This is a mind-bending position, because I should just have something clean. And somehow I don't have something clean, and it's driving me a little crazy. Wow. A knight takes d4 also doesn't work. Queen a5 maybe, just castle. See, just castle, I could end up in a situation like in the last game. And so you have to be aware of what the opponent can do here. I'm annoyed. I'm actually a bit annoyed, I can't lie. Okay. I'm going to go knight a7. Does my opponent spot knight to a4? That's the first question. Getting out of danger. They do. Wow, well spotted. Now, I needed to keep this for my queen. Queen c6 is possible, but then after c3, I don't actually see how to make some progress. So I'm going to go queen a5 here. So I continue to attack the queen, and I attack the knight. And when c3 is played, which I expect will be played, then I can move my bishop back here. What? Oh, they just totally missed it. And now, this is something called auxiliary idea. Bishop c3 is very natural here. But actually, the best move is to sack the rook. Because after pawn takes, bishop takes, queen b4 is mate, or queen b6. The threat on the queen opens up the attack on the king. If you develop strong attacking skills, you are going to crush people. If you're going to develop a sense of like, wait a minute, if they castle that way, how do I generate an attack quickly and flip the switch from, oh, I just have to develop all my pieces and play, you know, moves like castling like Levy's been teaching me. So my opponent's thinking now. I don't know why they're thinking when they're about to, you know, they only have one legal move. And we win. That was an instructive game. First of all, one of the most instructive moments of that game was this rook sacrifice. That is something that is not a natural move. That is a skill that you develop with time. You play a move like rook takes c3 with the bishop and the queen, and you win. If you play bishop takes, you know, you might get here, and you might win this position as well. You have an extra pawn, and your pawn structure is good. Now, I played the Caro-Kann 3 times in this slow run, and you can kind of see how all of it has to do with a solid central structure. So trading in the middle, and then playing d5, e6. In this particular game, I noticed that my opponent had an unstable center, and I actually would have just gone knight takes d4, brought the knight back, played like e6, bishop, and then I would have just been up an extra pawn. And another thing is, when I saw that they were trying to castle, I was like, immediately, look, you can play bishop e7, short side, but then you're going to be the one defending. And you in chess want to control the pace of the game. And this controls the pace of the game, because knight b5 is dreadful. Knight b5 has... It's a very unprincipled move. It's not a 1300 level move. At this point, you should know the position is too stable for a move like knight to b5 to work. Yeah, and I mean, right away, you know, queen b6, bishop b4. There's another cool idea here. Bishop b4, a3, queen a5 in this position. The bishop can't be taken. And if they castle, you can even sack the bishop for something like this. And this is also completely devastating. Sacrificing a piece to open the king like that for 2 pawns. The knight on c3 is insufficiently protected. When the queen is the chief protector of the king like this, it's not going to work. You know, it really should be some other piece. Like on b2, it should be the bishop. And yeah, I mean, I went bishop b4, and then I moved my knight out of the way, and this sequence... Oh, that's very cool. I had a much simpler solution. Wow, I could have taken the queen. I thought my rook was hanging. I forgot I was defended by the knight. There you go. So I was so focused on not trading the queens because I wanted to attack, I forgot. I saw this, but I completely forgot my rook is actually defended. Wow. And if you went knight a5, this wouldn't work. So if you went knight a5, and then you did this, it actually wouldn't be protected, but apparently it would be trapped. That's beautiful. I mean, sometimes in chess, you just got to acknowledge, like, and that's called a capture sequence, a capture chain. High-level stuff here we're analyzing now, but this is how it goes, folks. Knight a7, adding more pressure with my rook. And if my opponent had gone c3, I was just expecting an equal game. I was going to go here. What's knight c5? Can't I? Oh, wow. And then there's this move. That's incredible. Yeah, so the game would have been here. Takes, and we would have played this position with split pawns, and I would have tried to keep attacking, and... Even I, as a 2500, forgot that my knight is defending the rook from this peculiar angle. That is fascinating, and shows you that there are some patterns and sequences that I'm not even used to seeing, like a knight on a7 defending a rook on c8, and that somehow matters, you know, because you can take, and then they take, and then you take, and at the end of it, you get 2 pieces for the rook. Instructive stuff. I hope you enjoyed today's Caro-Kann masterclass. Playing on the different structures, playing, you know, against the Hillbilly attack. I never showed you the Hillbilly attack. Let's do that, and then we will go. The Hillbilly attack is this. It is a variation where white gambits the pawn on e4 like this, and then plays queen h5. Not very good, but a little tricky. You know, there's some lines here like queen h4, and then white can actually develop an attack very quickly if you're not careful with black. You know, you play a couple lazy moves, suddenly they get this, suddenly they got d4, the bishop is coming to h6, the knight is on g5, like before you know it, you might get mated. So the Hillbilly attack, yeah, against it, the best thing to do, I mean, you can take and just block with the e-pawn or something like that. That's all. Hope you enjoy. Check out Chessly if you want to take your chess to the next level. I got books everywhere from, you know, from everybody from babies to beginners to intermediate. And I'll see you in the next episode. Get out of here.